Hello, ladies and gentlemen. First thing I wanted to say is sorry about my voice. I'm a bit sick, so it might be a little raspy. Like I already said, today's episode is going to be Dragon Ball Z Book 4, 5, and 6, which would be the end of the Saiyan saga, and then into the next saga. Very excited for that. I've been looking forward to it all freaking week to get going on this, and then finally get this episode out, so super excited. Before we get into that, though, I wanted to first off thank again everybody who's been liking, following, subscribing, downloading all this stuff on Spotify to get these episodes going. That's very appreciated. I couldn't possibly thank you guys enough. You're making my dream come true, so thank you very much. And then I also wanted to say that our YouTube is officially up. We got a good amount of the episodes up on there as well. If for those who prefer to watch or listen to this kind of stuff on YouTube rather than Spotify, I believe episodes 4, 5, 6, 7 are on there. Episodes 1 and 3 will be on there. And then, unfortunately, because it's one of my favorite topics for the episodes, episode 2 just isn't going to be on there. Unless I end up redoing it down the line, or that's really the only way is if I end up redoing that episode down the line, but that's not going to be re-uploaded, and I'm pretty sure I already took it down up here. But this is exciting news. So again, for those people who do prefer to listen on YouTube or anything like that, it's up on YouTube. All of the new episodes since the return to like daily or weekly uploading are up on YouTube, and then the episodes that were made prior to that will be other than episode 2. So look out for that. Really excited for that. I'm going to be posting about that on Instagram and about that on Facebook. So, yeah, very excited for that. Was working on that all morning to get that up and going. I already had the account made. I just hadn't had anything uploaded. For the original couple episodes, they were just recorded on a different computer, on a different account. So I just have to get those audio files transferred over to this one, and then I should be able to upload those episodes. Those will be up within the next couple days for when this comes out. That's basically all I wanted to say before we get into the episode. A lot of exciting things on the way. A lot of exciting, or 2 new exciting episodes coming out this week coming up. Don't want to give out any spoilers. I will say that we're going to continue on with how it's been for this week and then last week. The comic books will be Monday, and then manga will be on Friday, unless it's a big story for either of them that needs to lead on into the next episode. Like how I did Civil War and Civil War 2, like back to back. But that's basically all for any of the updates before the episode gets going here. Let's get right into it. I am very excited for this. Like I said, we did the first 3 books. Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite, if not my favorite mangas, so I was really excited to get going for this on the episode. I'm honestly surprised we didn't do this for the first manga-themed episode. I am surprised we did Attack on Titan, only because, like in my rank, Attack on Titan's probably number 4 or 5. I've only read like 6 or 7 mangas, but Attack on Titan's really not that far up there. And I only really know that because I haven't read any more than the first 3 books still. So clearly I wasn't too into it to get the next couple ones. But it's also been kind of hard to find. Everywhere I've looked, it just hasn't really been. So, and I haven't really went out of my way to look either. But very excited for Dragon Ball Z. I think it is, without a doubt, has the best characters and one of the best stories that I've ever read. Not even only manga, just in general. So very excited for this. Obviously, we're in the middle of the Saiyan saga. We're more towards the end of the Saiyan saga. We had Raditz come to Earth and he kidnapped Gohan, but he was trying to basically get Goku to do what he was sent there for, which was destroy the Earth. Goku didn't know that, obviously. Goku and Piccolo ended up taking down Raditz. Goku was sacrificed himself to do so. Raditz, as he was dying, warned of stronger Saiyans that were coming to Earth in a year. Those Saiyans were Nappa and Vegeta. Where we were in this last story before we ended up cutting it off, leading into these ones. Nappa just basically wiped out everybody. The only people left standing are Gohan, Krillin, and it might just be Gohan and Krillin. I don't remember there being anybody else. But Goku just got back from the Snake Way, training with King Kai. And that's kind of where we left off, with him getting back, realizing that his people are dead, and us realizing how strong he is. I don't actually remember if I spoiled it or if they had Vegeta, because like I said in the last episode, Vegeta was scanning the people throughout the battle to see their power levels. So I don't remember if they actually scanned Goku yet or if I spoiled that, but Goku's at a level 8,000, I believe. I don't remember what. I know Vegeta was like 18,000, but I don't remember what Raditz was. I think he's a bit stronger than Raditz was like 15 to 13 to 15. But I think Nappa was somewhere like 5 or so. I'll look back at my notes as we get deeper into this. But just in case anyone missed the last episode, I don't know why you'd be on this episode if you missed that one. But either way, that's basically what's happened and what led us to these stories. So let's jump right into book 4 and then continue on to 5 and 6. So for book 4, started off obviously like I was just saying, we got Goku returning and sees Nappa. This is the beginning, so basically of the Nappa versus Goku fight. This fight is very one-sided. This is I can't really underestimate it by saying it is an absolute crazy turning point. Obviously because of Nappa being able to wipe out without Goku even getting involved, being able to wipe out so many people as easily as he did without really even putting up a sweat. It's really amazing seeing this fight. Specifically, obviously it isn't like a video podcast, so I can't show you it. I might make it the thumbnail on YouTube when I upload it there, though. Goku picking Nappa up above his head. I'm jumping ahead a little bit in the fight, but Goku picking Nappa up above his head is one of the sickest fucking panels in manga history. But this fight's very one-sided. Goku uses Kaiken briefly, which we were talking about in the other book. It's a fighting technique he learned from King Kai. Nappa can't even track him, isn't able to keep up with him in any way. Like I was saying earlier, Goku picking Nappa up. Goku breaks Nappa's back, similar to, kind of has shades of the Batman's back getting broken in Nightfall, which by the way is a story we are going to do in the entirety. Nightfall, Night Quest, and then I think Night's End or whatever the last part is. We will do that entire story. It's one of my favorite stories in Batman history, with my favorite Robin involved in it, and Tim Drake. But back to this story. Goku breaks Nappa's back. Vegeta sees that Nappa is useless and he just kills him. He basically doesn't see or sees that Nappa is no longer able to help him in any way right now, so he gets rid of just gets him out of the way, gets rid of him. This does a really good job showing how fucking badass Vegeta is, in my opinion, kind of showing how he doesn't really give a fuck. He just wants to proceed with his goal. Doesn't matter who gets in the way, doesn't matter who falls up getting to that path. Comes off like a really big badass in this one. It really shows that he does not tolerate any weakness, and he's very much pride above loyalty. Nappa being broken there on the ground makes him look bad, so he needs to get rid of him. Another way to look at it, but and then this is where the real fight begins. This is what all 4 books now have been leading up to, with Goku going against Vegeta. Now you gotta keep this in mind. First things first, this is one of the most iconic battles in anime history, manga history. This is such a famous, even people that don't watch or listen to anime, watch or read anime, they know this fight. It's basically in all the games that they've made of Dragon Ball Z. This is one of the biggest fights they do. Basically every single game is the same, and it's this fight. I mean, it's a badass fight, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of funny to me. I played a Dragon Ball Z game for the PS2, for the Xbox 360, and then for my Xbox One. They're all different games. The exact same story, though. So it's a very popular story, as you can see. But the power comparison here is Vegeta, obviously, like I was saying, is 18,000 power level. Goku's base power level is 8,000. This is where it gets interesting, though. So Goku uses the Kaiken technique twice, which doubles his power level. So we're going to do this whole calculation here. He doesn't use it twice, but he uses it. Sorry, just doubles it. So it'd be 8,000 times 2. And then later in the fight, that even goes up even more, and it multiplies it by 3. So you would multiply it again. So by the end of this fight, just to keep it in your mind, Goku, this is fucking insane. Goku's power level is about 24 to 25,000, which is fucking insanity. But in the beginning of the fight, he's not, I wouldn't say he's winning, but he's definitely coming off a bit stronger, coming off a bit like he knows what he's doing better. And as the fight continues and the fight goes on, it becomes a very much more evenly matched, which obviously, with what we've seen of Vegeta He's a very prideful guy and a very I'm gotta be the best kind of guy, so this makes him very upset. Obviously, Goku didn't even know he was a Saiyan until about a year ago, and then he died on the day he found out. And obviously, he doesn't know about this King Kai training and stuff, so to him, this guy just randomly, this kid just randomly is stronger than him and is keeping up with him with no training, no background knowledge, no forethought. So you could imagine it would really piss you off. He very much sees Goku as a low-class Saiyan. Not only did Goku not do what he was supposed to be doing, but also he doesn't have as much training. Didn't have as much like things that he's already done. Like, this isn't the first place that Vegeta's came to try to conquer. So this is a very big thing for him. The fight becomes more than just physical. It becomes about pride, very much about class hierarchy, because obviously Vegeta sees himself as very, very much above Goku. And then Saiyan identity, because he also doesn't feel like Goku is even really a Saiyan. So the fact that this non-Saiyan, like this someone he doesn't even believe is one of him, is able to do as much damage as he is and then eventually beat him, that's a very, very hard hit for Vegeta. And again, I just want to say, one of the best fights in the entire manga, in any manga, in anything. It is such a good fucking fight. It is so entertaining. Literally, the first time I read it, I was glued to the pages. I've read or watched the anime a couple times, and I do think it's done really, really well in there. I don't think it's as good as the book, but I've also always liked the books better. So that's not really anything shocking. But such a good fight, man. It was such a good fight. But once again, what they do a lot in these books, it leads you off with a kind of a cliffhanger. Ending is the end of the book. You don't know what's happening. It's becoming a lot more not one-sided. It's becoming strictly down the middle. Vegeta or Goku's keeping up very much with Vegeta. The major things that you should take away after reading this book and then the last 3 books just in general is obviously the cost of war. The Z Fighters lost a very, very large amount of their crew, majority of them. Obviously, we just saw Goku come back. Saiyan Pride is another one. Vegeta represents an elite sort of bloodline, and then arrogance that comes with that. And Goku obviously represents the earned strength because he had to go all the way through the Snake Way, all the way through training with King Kai, then all the way back on this very tough training and then journey just to get back and fight this battle. So his strength is very much more earned than it is granted or given due to his lineage or where he's from. Redemption's also a very big one. It's easy to forget due to just all the craziness that was happening throughout the story, but it's also good not to forget because Piccolo had an entire redemption arc within the first 4 books of the story. Obviously, in the end of in the original Dragon Ball series, Piccolo was a villain and he was fighting Goku and he ended up losing to Goku. He was trying to take over the world. He completely redeems himself in this story. Not only does he help Goku fight off Raditz in the beginning, and then to make doing the final blow, whether or not that killed Goku or not, that was what Goku asked for. And then he realizes that there's no one else that's gonna be able to train Gohan to be ready for this battle, so he's got to do it. So he takes it upon himself to get Gohan ready to fight this war that's gonna be coming in the next year or so, to give them the best hope they possibly can, because obviously it's not like he has any idea that Goku's gonna be back or that what's going to happen. He's just working with what he has, and what he has is this scared little boy that he needs to turn into a warrior, and I think he did a really good job at not only doing that, but keeping this boy safe going on throughout the story. I think Piccolo has one of the best redemption arcs, in not only in this manga, but in just storybooks in general. He is such a good redemption arc in this story. But another big thing that you should kind of be thinking about leading into the next couple books, and then just take away from these books, is the power escalation. This series officially moves into like a sort of next level of power scaling. Obviously they got I forget what they're called, the Scouters, the Saiyans that can read people's power level. But we're also just seeing these insane power levels. Like I was just saying, Goku, by the end of this fight, it's going to be at like 25,000 or so. That is insanity. Absolute insanity. But going back to things you should remember just leading into the next couple books. Obviously the people that are dead from the original 4 books would be Yamcha, Chaozu, Tien, Piccolo, and Nappa. It's also good to keep in mind, not only are these all the people that died, but this is the darkest that Dragon Ball has ever gotten. There hasn't been a darker story than this. This is an absolute insane thing for them to do. Not only did they kill off a character, they killed off 5 characters in the first 4 books. Just introducing you to this world, they took out 5 of their main, or not main, but their side characters. And then obviously Raditz is dead too, so that'd be 6, but Raditz was kind of there to die and get this story going. But that's fucking insane. But the first 4 books, I'd say, are the most important in the Saiyan saga, and just the most important for this entire universe as you keep going through the books. Mainly because it does fully establishes Vegeta as a major rival. It kind of is building up to how dangerous he is going to be just throughout these first 4 books. It raises the stakes beyond Earth, obviously with Goku not only going to heaven, basically, their version of it, but also with people coming from space to like going there to stop Earth or attack Earth, take over Earth, whatever you want to say. It introduces Saiyan mythology, obviously with Vegeta, Nappa, Raditz, how the stuff works with Goku being sent there as a baby to eventually grow up and trying to take over. None of this was known in the original Dragon Ball story, so it's kind of cool that they introduced it now, just letting you know more about the world. And then another thing important that it does, and big thing I think it does, is makes Gohan's growth central to the story. Obviously, like I was just saying, Piccolo's redemption arc is built on helping Gohan grow to become a stronger person and a stronger hero. So they did a really, really good job just focusing on that and keeping that as a central kind of big point throughout this entire 4 books. Then leading into the 3 books, leading into the 4th book, and then obviously now leading into the 5th. As I'm doing this, by the way, I'm realizing this is going to be another relatively long episode. I'm thinking like 45 to 50 minutes because there's a lot in these books. But as we continue on to book 5, so obviously Goku and Vegeta are fighting. The fight between them continues on full intensity. They're very much trying to kill each other after all of the events that have taken place. Like I was saying earlier, Goku ended up using this Kaiken times 3 instead of 2, which brought him up to the 25,000 power level. Vegeta fires his Gallic gun. Goku counters with his Kamehameha. Such a silly name. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong anyway. But the planet-shaking beam struggle between between Goku and Vegeta is one of the most iconic moments in Dragon Ball Z history. It's fucking sick. Goku barely wins by pushing to Kaiken times 4, but his body is nearly destroyed, pushing himself this far. But obviously he's able to take down Vegeta, or win that part of the fight with Vegeta. Obviously, this shows that power has consequences, and Goku can win bursts of power, but his body can't sustain it as much as, he can do these bursts of power, but he's not going to be able to sustain holding on to this much power all at once. After losing that fight with the beams, Vegeta kind of realizes that he might lose in a pure combat kind of fight against Goku at this point. But Vegeta has a trump card that this trump card that Saiyans have that he didn't tell Goku about, and neither did Raditz. And it kind of makes me wonder why I don't remember if Raditz had his tail still, but I'd imagine he would have, and I don't know why he wouldn't have tried to do this. But anyway, Vegeta's trump card is the Great Ape, so he creates an artificial moon so he can transform into Uezoru. I probably pronounced that wrong, sorry for anyone who offended. Which translates to the Great Ape. Vegeta as the Great Ape becomes 10 times stronger, he becomes a giant, and he becomes nearly unstoppable. If Vegeta was strong before, this is like, let's do it. Vegeta's power level was 18,000.
A week later, Drew attacked Matt and hit him with the DDT.
So just a curiosity, 18,000 times 10 is 180,000 power level, roughly, which is insanity. Obviously, this changes everything. Now Goku is completely unmatched. Obviously, he barely was able to hold himself together to do what he just did to Vegeta, and that didn't even take Vegeta out, and now Vegeta transformed into an even stronger being. Can't pretend that it doesn't spell out pretty bad circumstances for Goku. Not to mention the rest of the team, obviously, with Gohan and Krillin still there. They're in quite a bit of danger too, as is the rest of the world. I mean, you gotta remember, this is a end of the world kind of thing. When the Saiyans arrived, they were destroying cities with ease. It was Nappa destroying cities, as Vegeta just watched. But it's not like something that they just really can afford to lose. It's a life and death situation, not only for them, but for the entire Earth. So this leads us right back into the fight, though. And at this point, Vegeta is just crushing Goku. I mean, he's 10 times stronger, obviously. He's giant. He's breaking bones. He's smashing him into the ground. He nearly kills him. At this point, Goku can no longer move. He is basically a fucking paraplegic. He's just laying there. He's still aware of what's going on around him, but he can't really do anything. This hero can't finish the fight alone. And this is kind of where the spotlight of the book shifts, where the spotlight of the story shifts more towards Gohan, who they were building up in the second and third book, obviously being trained by Piccolo, and Piccolo's entire redemption arc was all being built towards this moment. And obviously Krillin and Yojiro. But they try to help. Yojiro secretly cuts off Vegeta's tail. I don't think I explained this, nor did the book, until around this time. But the reason Goku doesn't have this power, the reason I think Gohan doesn't even end up having it, is because they get their tails removed. If you get your tail removed, then you're not going to have this Great Ape ability. This is strictly with the tail. If you lose your tail, you lose that ability. So Yojiro secretly cuts off Vegeta's tail. Vegeta reverts back to normal form. Gohan fights despite the overwhelming fear. I mean, if you think about it, this guy literally just beat your dad to basically death. His inferior beat everyone else you loved that was there basically to death, if not to death. This is a very life or death situation, and he's very young. Obviously, he went through the training and everything with Piccolo, but that's not just something that's going to still bring you in to be able to do this. I mean, it's a tough thing. So obviously, he's overwhelming a lot of fear, and he has a lot of courage just trying to stand up at as young as he is, and to someone as strong as Vegeta at this point. And this is obviously huge for Gohan's character. He's still a child at this point, but he refuses to run, he refuses to hide, he refuses to give up, he's going to keep on fighting. That's really cool. Well, I was standing corrected. Obviously, I forgot. He doesn't have his tail gone yet, Gohan. Gohan's Great Ape transformation. The artificial moon still exists, so Gohan sees it. He transforms into a Great Ape too. Now the battlefield becomes absolute chaos, obviously. Giant Gohan, severely injured Vegeta, nearly dead Goku watching. Gohan crushes Vegeta unintentionally, but by then, Yoro cuts Gohan's tail too, so he can't do any more damage, but he basically just fucking destroys Vegeta without even trying. Maybe not even realizing he did it at the time. Obviously, after his tail getting cut and then him being stomped on by a giant. Vegeta's done at this point. As strong as he is, he wasn't strong enough to keep going after all that. Krillin prepares to kill him, but this is a massive turning point in the story. Goku stops him, which is insane when you really think about it, just after all the death that this man has caused, including Goku's originally, sending Reddits and all that. Why does Goku stop him? Because Goku wants to fight Vegeta again. He believes that Saiyans can change. Obviously, he was sent here to kill the entire Earth, and he didn't end up doing that. He believes that just like other people, that they can change and they can become better people. And he believes that strength comes from rivalry, and if he has this rivalry with Vegeta that they can fight and keep themselves strong, then they'll both just keep getting stronger. And if it's a risky thing, but if Vegeta does end up being turning around and being a good guy, then he has someone just as strong as him, if not stronger, on his side. So at the end of the day, it's pretty good. Pretty smart strategy, but risky. But this is a very big moment that kind of defines Goku as a character. Despite the destruction and mayhem and all the friends of his that Vegeta killed, or had gotten killed, not to mention he killed Nappa right in front of him, he would have killed Goku if had not his tail been cut off. And he would have killed everybody. So I think it's a really, really big point to show the differences between not just Goku and Vegeta, but just just Goku in general to other people in the world. Obviously, he cares more, and he realizes even though other people can take that step, kind of like Batman, if he takes that step, it means more, or it's too much, and it's going to be against what he's fighting for in the first place. So, after this, Vegeta retreats, obviously humiliated, broken, and furious. Vegeta leaves Earth, but he promises revenge. This sets up Vegeta's long-term rivalry, his obsession with surpassing Goku, and then his shift from villain to anti-hero over the period of these books, because he will eventually be back, and we'll see what goes on with those stories. The big main things that you probably would want to remember just coming out of this, for number one, would be Pride versus Mercy. Vegeta fights for pride. Goku spares him at the end of the story, and this is a big sign of growth and a big sign of, especially a big showing in front of his son that's right there. So, Pride versus Mercy, I think, is a very big thing, because it's two very different things that these people were fighting for, and ended up fighting two at the end. The end of pure villainy. This is the last time Vegeta is purely evil. Obviously, that's a bit of a spoiler, but the rest of this story, he becomes very much an anti-hero, and he's on the side of Goku and sometimes, and then on the side of himself and other times, but he's never a bad guy again. So that's a big thing. Obviously, we don't really know that just directly coming off of this book, but you will realize that later on throughout the story. The rise of Gohan. I mean, obviously, he's still a kid, and he still doesn't really know what he's doing, and plus he got his tail cut off, so now he can't do the Super Ape thing anyway. But this does prove that his hidden powers are there, and he's very fucking powerful. And then it also promotes, very, very, very much promotes the book 1 to book 5 now. Teamwork over just heroship in general. Goku couldn't have won this alone. It took everyone. It took all the people that died. It took Goku to get beaten half to death. It took his son to transform into that monster. It took all these people to it took the one guy, I forget his name, to cut his tail off. It took all these people just to finally get to the end of this fight. And that's very new for Dragon Ball. Goku obviously was the main character of the original Dragon Ball story, so a lot of the stories were focused around making him the hero and making him be the reason that all the good things happen. So it being a very teamwork oriented first 5 books is very showing and very much telling of how the future of the series should go, or probably will go if you haven't read any more of it. Obviously I have, and it does very much go like that, very much team oriented and secondary and even third characters focused in some parts to keep these other characters important and not just kind of there. So I'd say the final damage report would be Goku, he's crippled nearly to death. Earth in general, most of the Z fighters are gone. Obviously we went over all the people that died in the last book, and then who's left in this one. Vegeta's defeated, but he's alive also. He left Earth. And then the Dragon Balls are gone because Piccolo died in book 4. Obviously we haven't really been too introduced with the Dragon Balls in these stories yet, but going back to the original book, a lot of people will know more about them. So what now is kind of the question. This is a big setup for kind of the next arc, because Piccolo and Kami are dead, the Dragon Balls are gone. What's the solution? Find the original Namekian homeworld. Probably pronounced that wrong, fucked that up. This leads you directly into the next arc, Planet Namek. This leads to Frieza, the Ginyu Force. I love the Ginyu Force. I love Frieza also. Frieza is my favorite out of all these bad villains in this. Super Saiyan, the biggest power jump in the series. It leads to a whole bunch of shit. So I don't know when we're going to get back to... Well, obviously we're going to start it in book 6, but I don't know when we're going to get back to Dragon Ball after these 3 books. I did want to just finish the Saiyan arc and then kind of do it a little teaser for the Planet Namek arc. But obviously the events of that book and the events of all that lead to book 6, which we'll get into now. So obviously, like I was saying, at the aftermath of book 5, book 5. Battlefield's quiet, Goku's hospitalized, most of the Z fighters are dead. Earth's Dragon Balls are gone because of Piccolo's death. But Hope appears because, like you already went over, Kami was Namakian. I'm sure both of those are wrong. Sorry. That means there must be a home planet, Nomak. Probably also wrong. Sorry. I mean, pronunciationally wrong. I'm not good with words like this. If they can find it, they can wish everyone back to life. This shifts the story from revenge to resurrection. Obviously, this entire last arc was them trying to stop this incoming invasion and incoming war, so this is much, much, much different. The mission to Nomak. The volunteers to go are Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma. They board a spaceship and leave Earth. Important detail is that Goku stays behind to recover, to get stronger. Obviously, he's basically dead at the end of the last book, again. And then this is also pretty huge narratively, because for the first time, not only in Dragon Ball Z now, but in Dragon Ball in general, Goku isn't the main character of this, or the center of this arc. The spotlight moves very much to Gohan. He is very much the central figure of this arc. So that's really never been done in the series, and it happens on and off after this in the series, but you'll see that it very often stays on Goku, even with such a strong character or array of characters in this world as the story goes on. Meanwhile, as all that's happening, Vegeta survives, obviously, like we already said. He wakes up in space under the control of someone new. This kind of introduces Frieza. This is the first major introduction of the true overarching villain. Obviously, Vegeta was bad, but this is something a lot worse. We learn that Vegeta works for Frieza. Frieza is the emperor of the universe. He commands entire planets and galaxies to do his bidding and do what he wants them to do. So, like I was just saying, Vegeta's powerful, but compared to Frieza, he's really just a big fish in a small pond. Maybe even a small fish in a small pond. Vegeta overhears that Frieza is heading to Nomak to gather the Dragon Balls. And this is kind of where we realize, they do a really good job, just like in the first arc. In the first book, they introduced that not only do they introduce Raditz in this big fight in Goku's death, but they introduced that there's going to be an even bigger fight later on in the arc. This starts off with a bang, with us learning that Frieza and his forces are also going to Nomak, so the heroes are basically walking straight into a galactic war over these Dragon Balls to bring these people back to life, which in turn could lead to other people dying and more lives being lost. And I did want to mention before we move on, it's not like Vegeta's necessarily happy to hear this. He's very, very still upset about losing. He's very much upset about losing his tail. He's very disgraced, humiliated. He's not just like, alright coach, put me back in, we're good. So this is a very much oh shit, what do I do here? Kind of, he hears it, if that makes sense. I do think that's a bit important. This directly leads us to the arrival on the planet Nomak for the good guys here. Gohan and Krillin land on Nomak. Right after they land, you immediately see the differences from Nomak to Earth. Green skies, blue water, sparse villages, peaceful Nomakians. This is very much a tone shift. It feels very calm now, especially after the war and everything that just took place back on Earth and in the last couple stories. But it's a lie. It's obviously not calm because Frieza's forces are already there. They're already looking for the Dragon Ball and they're already fucking causing trouble. And this leads us directly into seeing what Frieza and his forces are actually doing. Frieza begins collecting Dragon Balls by force. He's not just asking for them or seeing if he can have them. He's killing people and stealing them. He's destroyed entire Nomakian villages, children, elders, warriors, no hesitation. This is very different from Vegeta, just to compare it. Vegeta kills for pride, Frieza kills for business. Frieza's trying to get these to move farther in his rule, basically get stronger. Vegeta was trying to kill Goku to just prove that he is more powerful. So it's a bit different. Obviously, with knowing that Frieza killed children, elders, warriors, just entire villages wiped out, people wiped out. it's supposed to make you not like him very much. He's my favorite villain out of them all, but that doesn't necessarily mean I liked him during the story. Obviously, I wanted our protagonist to beat him still, but I just think he's the best done character out of all the ones we end up seeing. But Frieza's very cold, efficient, genocidal. The tone somehow, after an entire war and a whole bunch of people dying in the first 5 books, gets so much darker than it ever was before. And then the power levels get fucking out of control. Scouters reveal shocking numbers. Vegeta's around at 24,000 after his recovery, which is insane because that's what Goku ended up even getting to around there after all his power-ups. So the fact that Vegeta somehow after that fight and after having to take and give so much power, he's all the way up to 24,000 now. That made him even stronger. But Frieza in his first form is 530,000. Just let that sink in. Think about that for a minute. That is the most insane thing. Obviously, the power gap became astronomical. Because Goku's still riding around at I think it was 8,000 at like normal form. We're not sure what he's going to come back up to when he revives, but insane. And this is kind of the moment Dragon Ball Z power scaling explodes into absurd territory. Because if you just think about it now, if his first form is 530, you got to think about like 20 books from now, the big bad. His power level's got to be like almost in the millions, right? Absurd. And then there's very much a strategic shift going forward, obviously, with them arriving here before the Z Fighters and Gohan and Krillin. They very much can't just go in guns blazing. They got to be very careful with how they go about everything that's happening here, using a lot of stealth, strategy, and survival, just instincts. Gohan and Krillin must hide from Frieza, avoid Vegeta, steal Dragon Balls secretly. It becomes very much almost kind of feels like a war movie almost, with how, like, they have to sneak in and try to, like, I don't know. It's very, very cool the way they did it. But 3 factions kind of now exist on this little what's going on here. Obviously, you got Frieza and his army. And we kind of have Vegeta acting independently on his own. It seems to at least Frieza that he's doing whatever he needs, but he's very much just acting on his own. And then obviously there's the Earth Heroes in Gohan and Krillin. Everybody wants the same prize, and there's really no alliances. Obviously, again, Vegeta's with Frieza, and it's a pretty big thing, but the seeds are definitely being planted that Vegeta is not very happy behind Frieza. So we will see as the story goes on, or these stories go on, where that goes, and where this entire arc goes in general. There are a couple things I wanted to just highlight coming out of it, kind of for all the main guys that we're going to be talking about here. Before we get too far off, Gohan, he steps very much into a leadership role in this book, and then in moments he has a lot of hidden powers that keep surfacing. So this is another book that does a really good job on just kind of building up what Gohan's going to be. For Vegeta, this is the first time we've seen him like secondary or in fear in any way. He seems to be afraid of Frieza very much. And then obviously Frieza, he gets introduced in this book. He's very calm, polite, and imaginably evil. He's a villain who smiles while he commits genocide, which is strangely terrifying for books that people are going to come across when they're a bit younger. Like I read this when I was 12, maybe 13. And Frieza definitely scared me a little bit when I was a kid. But I think this book's very important specifically. Obviously, it's the first book of the next arc. But I think it's important because not only does it do a good job leading from the last book into the events of this book, but this book specifically expands the universe even more beyond Earth. Obviously, we knew the Saiyans were coming from... I don't even remember if they... I know I did in one of my episodes, but I don't know if they told you exactly where the Saiyans were from yet, but it's Planet Vegeta. But they didn't actually go to that planet yet. We haven't seen that planet. So this is the first time that it expands beyond Earth and like with our characters being there. It introduces the main saga villain. Obviously, in the first book of the last saga, they didn't do that, so it's very quick introducing Frieza here. But I think that makes it even more scary. Basically, right after that last war, Goku's still healing. All these people still dead. They run into this ginormous, even worse bad than they just ran into. That's related to the last bad they ran into. Then it changes the tone very much. Specifically just from the original Dragon Ball which is very much a tournament style battling. And then even you could say for the Vegeta one, it's even the way it went at least was very tournament style fighting. This is just planetary genocide. He's literally Frieza's going into towns, killing everybody and stealing Dragon Balls. He's not leaving anybody alive. But this is the official start of the Nomak saga, one of the most iconic arcs in anime history, manga history, and one of the most popular and acclaimed arcs in the Dragon Ball Z series in general. So that's just a bit of a little touch for you on that arc. I don't know when we're actually going to get to the next episodes of this. Like I said, this is the 6th book out of the first 6, obviously. The original 5 were the Saiyan saga and then directly into the Nomak saga. But I just wanted to kind of introduce this saga because it's mainly because of how quickly it introduced Frieza. I thought that was a cool way to kind of leave it for maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, however long it's going to end up being before we lead right back into the books 7, 8, and 9. And so originally, obviously, I said in the first one we were going to do the first 5 books, but I think for the animes we will stick to just doing 3 books at a time for certain ones, because if you look at it, like the ones that come out in 3 books at once anyway, and then you don't really see them that come out in 5, and plus that's going to be just very, very long episodes. And there are certain ones that I don't necessarily think we're going to be doing as many books as, like, say, when we get to Full Metal. That's my favorite anime of all time, so we're probably going, like, I'm on, I think, book 20 or so. We're probably going to do that entire series relatively close to when we start that series. It's probably going to be a going on series, but this one we're probably going to, I don't know about finish, but go pretty far in. And then other ones we're just not going to get, like Spy Family. I like that one, but it kind of cuts off a lot and isn't as good for after a while. So we'll probably only do the first 3 to 6 books of that. And then obviously with the comic books, there's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff in between all of this, but very excited to continue on with the Dragon Ball series. I'm very happy with how this breakdown went down. I very much enjoyed rereading the original 6 that I just read to make the last episode and then to make this one. I liked writing down the notes and get real giddy going over the things, and I loved rereading the fight between Goku and Vegeta. Him breaking his back was fucking sick. Before we get out of here, I did want to once again just thank everybody that's been liking, subscribing, following, whatever it is, and remind everybody, I know I said it in the beginning of the video, but that we're up on YouTube now, all the episodes. This episode probably it's going up on Friday, so it'll probably be up on Monday or Saturday or Sunday. Up on YouTube. I know YouTube's gonna be coming out a little later than the mainline episodes that will be on Spotify. But every Monday and Friday, Spotify, Monday comics, Friday manga. I appreciate everybody for watching, everybody for listening, and thank you very much for being here. That's gonna be all for this episode, all for the first arc, Dragon Ball Z, into the second arc, and thank you very much. Dr. Panel out. I was right, by the way. I know I said earlier in the thing when in the first episode, or the first book of this episode, which was book 4, that this was probably going to be like a 50-minute long episode, and I'm not wrong. My raw recording is about 55 to 56 minutes here, so it'll probably end up being like a 45 or 35 to 40-minute episode. But I appreciate for everybody for watching, and I just thought that was kind of funny. I pretty much called it right on the dot, so Dr. Panel out.